So I've actually had a lot of people start to ask me, okay, how does this whole process work? How does your workshops work? And typically my workshops are about a half day long because I need that much time to really not only explain where this framework came from, but more about myself as well, because it's not just something that I wrote down one day and thought, gosh, let's just go out there and market it. This is 25 years, 26 years of asking clients why they chose me when there were larger opportunities to use our competitors that were advertising more, had more salespeople, they still decided to give me a chance. And so when we got to point of sale and I actually won a deal, I would ask them, hey, why'd you choose me? And in that conversation the answer was one of these attributes, right? Whether it was being consistent or whether it was the fact that I was really approachable. It didn't really matter. I just started keeping track of each one of these. And then I started putting together like, wow, the company where I used to work at, we had an extremely high NPS, world class, in fact, over 80. And I started asking myself, why do they keep using us? And it was because we care. Because we care more than other competitors out there. Other competitors were getting complacent. They thought that they were just going to win every single deal because of their name or how large their company was. And so I started to win, and I started to realize, wow, it really did matter how I was perceived. And the fact that I would work hard, that I was approachable, that I was relatable, those all mattered. Most importantly, showing respect, having enthusiasm for what I was doing, being eager, having a sense of urgency. Even when a manager would say, don't worry about taking notes, I'd still pull out my notepad and take notes because that's what you should be doing. It shows how eager you are, sitting on the edge of your seat, instead of just sitting back, laid back, never sitting in a lobby. It's all part of my book that I wrote, Struggle to Strength. And each chapter kind of goes through one of these attributes. And again, these attributes weren't framed by me. They were framed by the customers that chose to use me. And so how does the workshop work? I get into detail. It's not one that's just fluff. It is one that takes you through a deep dive into who you are as a human, where you need to improve, and a game plan for continued, call it character building, EQ development, if you will. So it is a workshop that's intended to help leaders on down to the newest of employees, that dives deep into your own equation. Everybody's C-A-R-N-E. Everybody's got one. Everybody's got a premier attribute that's on here. Authenticity is my premier attribute. Everybody will go through the program and develop theirs. They'll also understand how they can improve. They'll work alongside the people they work with every day, because it's not necessarily how you view yourself, it's how they view you. So it's awesome to see that take shape. And then what happens after that? What happens after that is really up to the client. But what I've been seeing lately is that they want more. They want me to dive deeper into each one of these attributes. So I set up, whether it be 6 months or a year long worth of calls, content, and just being there to help these leaders develop these skills. Because when you put all of this into a blender, what comes out is that it factor, is that ability to be remembered, right? When you walk into a room, you can see that one person that's like, damn, what the heck are they, what are they bringing to the table? Man, they're walking in totally approachable, right? They're coming in, they're showing respect. They're not walking in with ego, right? They're not trying to lead with title or tenure. They're trying to lead with some passion and some purpose, which is so vital. They show respect, right? And then when they say they're going to do something, they actually execute on it. Those people, they get surrounded by everybody else because they kind of have that it factor. Oh, there it is, the it factor. And when you put all these together, that's what you get. So I teach leaders, not just through my workshop, but through continual learning after my workshop, on how to improve these. And what I actually found is, with some of these workshops I've done, is they build consistency in right away. That first week after I leave, they're already building consistency in their daily habits and how they plan to work on their KPIs, to reach out to customers. And then week 2, they start going into compassion. or that could be month 2 going into compassion. And really, now you've got consistency flowing. Then you work into compassion, showing that towards strangers, then familiar compassion, then family compassion. Those are the 3 layers. And then they use a lot of abundance of curiosity, right? They ask questions. They want to know more. They need to also be able to adapt, which, by the way, the foundation of this whole framework is to be consistently adaptable, reliable, and execute. If you can't do those 4 things every single day, it's going to be very hard for you to grow your brand as a company or to grow yourself as a leader. So that's what I dive deep in with my workshops and the continued learning after my workshops. It also is built into the keynote speeches I give across the country. So that's really what this framework is about, how it flows, how it works. And I'm happy to tell you more about it, but I wanted to just get this out there because people are asking me, okay, so I go through the workshop, then what happens? What happens after the workshop is you become the best version of yourself using a proven framework